So our text shares the parable of a certain man who planted a fig tree in his vineyard. You'll notice that the owner of the vineyard had come looking for fruit on that tree for 3 years, and he found none. This detail is significant, family, because a fig tree normally takes about 3 to 5 years to bloom and up to 6 years to fully mature. So if the owner had been checking on this tree for 3 years, it means that the tree is at least 6 years old, fully mature, and still hadn't produced anything. It is also important to note that the owner didn't seem to have any issue with the other trees in the vineyard. His concern was with this one tree that refused to produce. As a result, the owner concluded that that tree was simply taking up space, and his recommendation was that it be cut down. But then the manager of the vineyard stepped in, pleaded with the owner, leave it alone for 1 more year. He believed that he could work with the tree. He believed that he could cultivate it and do what was necessary to help that tree produce. The agreement was simple. If the tree still didn't produce fruit after another year, then it would be cut down. In this parable, the owner of the vineyard could easily represent God. The manager of the vineyard easily represents Jesus. The fig tree represents us. The revelation of the text is this: God has planted us in a life, and he expects us in this life at a certain time when he checks on us to have spiritually matured. He expects spiritual production. He expects us to have advanced in our spiritual lives. He expects fruit, spiritual fruit, divine fruit. He expects us to have grown. He expects us to have developed into the type of people that the years of loving and knowing him should be expected of us at this moment. So he had every right to look for fruit on the tree after the time that was deemed necessary for it to produce. I want to share something with your church family, because I want you to understand that God is expecting something from us. After the time that we've shared in the relationship with him, and the time that he's come expecting us to have grown and matured in certain areas of our faith and our development, I have to ask this question: is God finding fruit? And if he is finding it, here it is it spiritual fruit? So I want to share with you today a few things that are very important about a heart that's committed to divine maturity. A heart committed to divine maturity will respond to God's reasonable request. You'll note from the text that God made a reasonable request. He wasn't asking for anything that was unreasonable. He had planted the tree to produce what he planted the tree to produce. He had given it ample time to produce, and we have to understand that he was not looking for anything other than what he planted that tree to produce. A lot of people falsely assume that God looking for something from us later, somewhere down the line, after life settles, after things calm down, after we get ourselves together. But don't y'all miss this. God is looking for the fruit that matches your spiritual placement. You shouldn't be bragging to God about your life if there's no spiritual production in the places that he come looking for it. Y'all not gonna like this. I'm gonna say it anyway. It's gonna get a little dicey. I'm glad you do some good things. I'm glad you do some nice things. I'm glad that you got an outreach ministry. I'm glad that you participate in this area and that area. But if you're not actively producing where God planted you, then you're going to have to understand that you got a problem, because what God planted you for is still missing. You're giving God some extra, but he not getting out of you what he intended. I really wish I could preach this like I feel it. We're supposed to produce good things that represent Christ, and all those things that we do for Christ, they're very important. But if we're not producing what he planted us to produce, we're still not fulfilling the obligations of why God planted us. We're supposed to produce good marriages. We're supposed to produce good family relationships. We're the one God is looking for to represent righteousness on our jobs and everywhere we go. Wherever God planted you, he's producing some type of element that aligns with his purpose. And so therefore, if you don't bear the fruit of what he planted you there for, then your use there is in vain. Y'all not Y'all not gonna believe it. Y'all not gonna believe it. If you're a nurse, you ought to be a righteous nurse. The nurse God planted you there to be. Here I come. If you're a police officer, be a righteous police officer. Be the type of police officer God planted you to be. Okay, y'all not gonna like it. If you're a husband, be the kind of husband God planted you to be. If you're a wife, be the kind of wife God planted you to be. If you're single, be the kind of single God planted you to be. I don't care what you do. I don't care where you go. If you're doing it and the will of God is expressed in your heart, then you've got to be the best in that and allow God to pull out of you what he planted in you. So you give your life your best. You give your spouse your best. You give your family your best. You give your job your best. He didn't plant you there to beat the system. He didn't plant you there to maneuver in your own way and to disrepresent who he is. He didn't tell you to steal time. He didn't tell you to cheat on the clock. He told you to go there and give it your best to represent him. Give your church your best. Give your ministry your best. God is expecting the best out of you. Watch this. Right now, during the ample time, he's giving you to produce it. He come looking for it at the time he expects it to have been developed. So now, you got to be careful about this, because some of us, we think we producing, but we're not. You ever gone to the grocery store and you picked up a piece of fruit and it looked right. It was the right color, had the right texture, had the right shape. Everything seemed to be what it should be. And then all of a sudden you bit into it and discovered that it didn't have no sweetness. I'm not trying to be critical. I'm not trying to talk about it. I'm not trying to make anybody feel like we're not doing anything of value. But what I'm trying to get you to see is some of us look ripe, but we're not mature. We look planted, but we're not producing. We look positioned, but we're not progressing. God's request is reasonable. He expects fruit right where he planted us. And he expects us to produce it at the time he comes looking for it. And not only will a heart committed to divine maturity respond to God's reasonable request, but it will also recognize God's regretful recommendation. Here it is. You got to care enough about God. You got to care enough about who he is. You got to care enough about what he expects that you will start to recognize when he got a problem with your production. You'll note from the text that God made a regretful recommendation to cut the tree down because it seemed to be useless and just taking up valuable space. This one tree, everybody else is producing what God expects, but this one tree, this one you got to be careful right here, because we find that in most instances, a lot of people are not producing to the degree of satisfactory to God. And it could be that you're taking up valuable space, not that you're useless to God, but you're useless in the manner in which he's produced you. I really wish I could preach this like I feel it. And so we got to be careful with this, because we're not blossoming as the Christians that God planted us to be. see, many of people assume that you have time to pursue other stuff. You got time to do everything you want to do, but you very seldom commit to your spiritual productivity. We make excuses about the assignment. We be unfaithful to the assignment. We're spiritually lazy. We let people distract us. We've lost focus on the will of God, and I know it sounds harsh, but there are some of you who are taking up spiritual space because you weren't producing anything of spiritual value, and it's a good chance you're going to be fired from your spiritual post. Let me make this plain. When you're a child, people clean up after you. When you're a child, people make excuses for you. When you're a child, people tend to overlook a lot of your mess, but when you mature, God gonna have to help me. Yeah, you gotta carry responsibility, boy. If you don't get your lazy butt off that couch and get in there and clean up after yourself, girl, if you don't get your trifling self in that kitchen and clean up after yourself, you got to understand that you're not an infant anymore. You carry responsibility, you carry weight, you carry assignment, you carry accountability. Some of us want adult blessings at a child mature level. I wish I could preach it like I feel it. We want grown-up favor with baby level discipline. Want a kingdom promotion and still need somebody to spiritually babysit us. That's why God said, cut it down. Cut it down. Not because he hates the tree. Y'all please pay attention. Cut it down because it's immature. It's not doing what it needs to do, and immaturity is dangerous when you've been planted long enough to know better. Listen to me real good, family. When people know better and they still don't do what they should, they dangerous. Y'all gonna have to pay attention, because it's not due to a lack of knowledge, it's due to a lack of care. God gonna have to help me. What I'm saying is that God is expecting something out of us, and if he can't find it at the time he comes looking for it, there may be a regretful recommendation. Cut it. Cut it down. Cut it down. They still can't get along. Cut them down. They still got hatred in their heart. After all this time, they should know better. Cut them down. They still selfish. Think everything about them. Everything got to be their way. Now, cut them down. They still think that they can't forgive each other. They got an excuse. They feel like they got a reason to harbor all these ill feelings. Now, cut them down. They won't repent. They won't check themselves. They got judgment for everybody else, but they still keeping up mess. They don't love one another. They just judge and judge. They don't help them. They just judge and judge. They won't support. They just judge and judge. They won't honor their marriage. They don't want to do anything that I told them. They think they can do what they want to do. They ain't praying. I don't see no praise and fruit. I don't see no worship fruit. I don't see no passion for my will. Cut them down. Now, you're listening to me and you're saying to yourself, well, I must be all right because my life is good. I got some good life markers. I got a good family. I make good money. I'm thriving in my career. I'm reasonably healthy. So he can't be talking about me. But is it possible that you can have all that going on and still be on the verge of being cut down? You want to know why God hadn't cut you down? It's because not only will a committed heart to divine maturity respond to God's reasonable request and recognize God's regretful recommendation, but it will also rely on Jesus's righteous renewal. Here it is. You'll notice from the text that Jesus had a radical response to the regretful recommendation of the reasonable request. Let me see if I can make it plain to you. The reasonable request, I want some fruit. I don't see any. The regretful recommendation, cut it down. Now here comes Jesus' radical response. He steps in on our behalf and he says to God, leave them. God gonna have to help me alone. Give them another chance. Just because your life good don't mean God pleased with you. revelation of the text is this: the only reason you haven't been cut down is because Jesus keeps stepping in, pleading that we have another chance. God's renewal plan is in session for somebody today, and you ought to be grateful that he's decided to give you another chance. Something's supposed to be produced, and Jesus is looking at you, realizing that something must have happened, because watch this: I planted this tree in the same soil I planted all the other ones in the vineyard. Every other tree is producing. It's just something wrong with this one. So I have to check on the tree, because something is happening. Something wounded that tree. Something is hindering that tree. Something is stopping that tree from producing like I know it has the anointing to produce. There's something that's stopping that tree from producing like God intended. So Jesus, pleased with the Father, said, give that tree another chance so that I can rework it, so that I can start doing something to it, so that I can do something to make sure that it has the potential, to make sure that it has all that it needs. And so what Jesus started doing, here I come, he starts to dig around the tree. God gonna have to help me. The word dig in the text means to break up, to turn, to loosen the dirt around the foundation, and to expose what's hidden. To uncover what's blocking production. To remove whatever choking the roots. I submit that Jesus is going to remove whatever it is that's stopping you from producing fruit. Whatever it is that's stopping us from maturing. God gonna have to help me. You don't always have to think the worst. You don't always have to change jobs. You don't always, y'all pay attention, have to break up. You don't always have to rush to divorce. You don't always have to assume you got to jump to the extreme. Sometimes all you need to do is let Jesus get to work on it. Let Jesus dig around your heart, so that he can bring out the best in you and to reveal the best for you. Because life will wound you. Life will bruise you. Life will bury you under pressure, under stress. You'll be operating with low self-esteem, too much grief, too much sadness, too many painful memories. But Jesus, dig is all up. Dig up that pressure. Dig up that stress. Jesus, dig up that low self-esteem element. Jesus, dig up that grief element. Jesus, dig up that sadness. Jesus, dig up that painful memory of my past mistakes. Jesus, dig up all of that stuff in me that makes me feel hurt and wounded, as if you're not good and guiding me. Somebody ought to say, God, start digging. I want you to dig, God, until you uproot everything in me that won't let me produce. Dig, God, until my heart get right. Dig, God, until my spirit get right. Dig, God, until my joy returns. Dig, God, until this stress get off of me. Dig, God, until this depression got to release me. I need somebody, I can't even hear you, but I need somebody to say, dig, God, dig, God, dig, God, dig, so you can get this painful stuff out of me, because that's why I can't produce. I want to show you something what Jesus does here. After digging around the tree, notice what he says in verse number 8. He put in fertilizer. God gonna have to help me. The fertilizer stimulates, it enriches, it nourishes the roots and the tree so that it can produce again. Some of you don't know your godly worth, but I stopped by to tell you that God has anointed you to produce. He's putting fertilizer in every place that doesn't seem to be enthused. He's putting fertilizer in every place that seems to be lying dormant. People may laugh at you. They may talk about you. They may doubt you, but people can't stop what God is empowering you to produce. And I want to say to you that maybe you feel like you've been planted in some tough soil. Maybe you feel like your situation is hard to bear, but my announcement is very simple. I got a golden nugget for you. You can still bloom under pressure. Yeah, I'm coming on your street. Maybe you think it's too difficult to grow where you are. Maybe you think it's too difficult to produce under all that trauma, under all that pressure, under all that pain. But I submit to you now that you can still produce even under hard conditions. I don't know if you've ever been walking down the street on the sidewalk and you see tree roots popping up through the concrete, and it's wondering how that's happening. How is it that those roots are popping up through that concrete? Isn't that concrete too hard for that tree to be sprouting up through? I stopped by to tell you that the reason why that tree could sprout up through the concrete is because the roots were stronger than the stuff trying to keep it down. Y'all, I feel like preaching, and I want y'all to know something. Your roots in God, your spirit, your strength, the power that God gives you make you strong enough to break through whatever it is that's trying to keep you down. If God planted you in some tough stuff, it's because he knows your roots strong enough to break through it. Sometimes the issue ain't that the tree weak, is that the tree is just an environment that's too small. Oh, y'all didn't see me coming. I'm coming again. Let me help somebody. Have you ever seen a plant that outgrew the pot that it was planted in? The plant wasn't dying. It was just restricted. It wasn't unhealthy. It was just contained. It wasn't incapable. It was just confined. And the only way for the plant to grow was for somebody to lift it, loosen it, repot it, and give it room to expand. Some of you aren't failing. You've just outgrown the pot you in. I feel like preaching. You've outgrown the pot of old thinking. You've outgrown the pot of low expectations. You've outgrown the pot of people who can't see your value. You've outgrown the pot of several environments that can't hold your calling. And Jesus said, let me dig around you. Let me fertilize you. Let me rework you in a way where you can finally mature. Because maturity isn't about just producing fruit. It's about having room where you can bloom. And so I want to tell somebody who's listening to me now that you can commit in your heart to divine maturity. You just got to realize who you really are. And I stopped by to tell somebody that you can bloom right where you've been planted. God still expects fruit to come out of you. And the good news is that even if you've been wounded, you can still bloom. Even if it's rough on you, you can still bloom. What God getting ready to do is help you produce what you're supposed to produce. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You just been planted in an environment that can't hold your anointing. But God is getting ready to renew you and release you. God is getting ready to mature you and elevate you. I'm preaching to some people now who dealing with some hard conditions, but get ready to still bloom. I know the odds look stacked against you, but get ready to still bloom. If you open your heart and commit to divine maturity, you gonna still bloom even under pressure. You can bloom despite your struggle. You can bloom despite your problems. Yeah, you can bloom despite any layoff, despite any setbacks, despite any breakups. Even after you go through some of the worst days of your life, you can still bloom. It don't matter If you're single or married, you can still bloom. It don't matter if you're male or female, you can still bloom. It don't matter if you're young or old, you can still bloom. It don't matter if you got the skills or if you ain't got that many, you can still bloom. Whatever God got for you, it is for you. You can still bloom. Even if your money get low, you can still bloom. Even if sometimes you feel sick, you can still bloom. Even after being wounded, you can still bloom. Even after you made mistakes, you can still bloom. Even after it feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. Is there anybody? Is there anybody who know you can still bloom? You ain't got to make a whole lot of money, but you can still bloom. Because you can bloom with the job God gave you. You can bloom with the family God gave you. You can bloom with the career God gave you. You getting ready to bloom because Jesus didn't look at what you had. He looked at who you are. Y'all don't hear me. Ain't you glad that Jesus gave us another chance? Ain't you glad that Jesus keep on stepping in and saying, give them another chance to please you, God, another chance to honor you, God, another chance to save you, God, another chance to bloom even under pressure, another chance to get things right, another chance to live for God. I believe it's a real good time for somebody under the sound of my voice to say, here am I, I'm ready to bloom. Somebody celebrate what you getting ready to come out of. Somebody celebrate what you getting ready to bounce back from. Somebody celebrate. I know you've been immature in your faith because your struggle looked big at the time, but is there anybody? Somebody who know that can't nothing hold you back. Is there anybody who know that can't nothing turn you around? Because God is working things out. God is turning things around. You too anointed to stay disappointed. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Because Jesus is going to make sure you all right. He's going to make sure you all right. He's going to make sure you all right. I need somebody. I need somebody right along through here to go ahead on and make up your mind and say, I'm going to commit to my divine maturity that God can expect what he expecting out of me, that I'm going to produce. Even if it get rough sometime, I'm still going to produce. Even if it get hard sometime, I'm still going to produce. Because Jesus has expectations of me, and he's able to help me do what it is he wants me to do. So can somebody give him praise? Somebody give him praise just for giving you another chance. Somebody can, oh Lord, somebody give him praise. Oh, y'all, come on. Right where you are, begin to just lift your hands and say, Lord, here I am. Lord, I know you want the best out of me. And I know you can expect the best out of me because you see the best in me. Can you lift that up to the Lord? Can you say, Lord, I know you expect the best out of me because you expect what you put in me to come out of me. Because you see the best in me. You don't see my failures. You don't dwell on my faults. You see what you truly planted me to be. I'm going to open up the altar right here.